Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. These Chicago Fire characters should be leaving 51 instead of Carver. Here's why. Chicago Fire has decided to show Sam Carver, Jake Lockett, the door. The character has grown steadily in popularity over the last 3 seasons, but now he only has 3 episodes left to wrap up his story. It's a tough decision, and one we feel like could have been avoided, given how integral he's become to the show. In a perfect world, we would not cut any Chicago Fire characters from the show. They all bring something unique and exciting to the table. But that is not the world we live in, and decided to put ourselves in the tough decision of making a cut. And here are 2 of the people who could have taken Carver's place on the chopping block. Not an endorsement, but we think we have pretty good cases. The most obvious pick, Jack Damon, Michael Bradway. He's liked well enough, especially now that he's got a potential romance going with medic Lizzie Novak, Jocelyn Houdin. But the character was axed from the show at the start of season 13, and hasn't really been around long enough to have a strong emotional connection with fans. Sure, it was sad to see the recent character arc he's undergone regarding his injury, and whether he would ever be able to fight fires again. But the episode in which Damon was injured, post-mortem, aired the same exact time Deadline was announcing the Carver exit. If you let that arc play out the way we all thought it would, Damon could have been the one to vacate Firehouse 51, and we would have been able to keep Carver, who had just returned from rehab. Chicago Fire's writing team seemed to be aware of how fine the line was between Carver and Damon was, since there was a final act fake out in which the injured firefighter was believed to be the former and not the latter. Carver simply brings more to the table than Damon does. Chief Dom Pascal, Dermot Mulroney, is our second hypothetical sacrificial lamb. He's been on the chopping block all season. He hit a speed bump after the death of his wife, Monica Pascal, Katie Strickland, and his work performance suffered as a result. But Pascal has persevered, and it now seems like he may end up being Firehouse 51's chief for the foreseeable future. He even got the Bowden, Eamon Walker, seal of approval in the aforementioned post-mortem episode. We like Pascal, and we feel for his loss. But Carver is not only a more compelling character, but he brings out more interesting facets of the other Chicago Fire characters. Think of the way he interacts with Violet, Hanako Greensmith, or Stella Kidd, Miranda Ray Mayo. If it were between these 2, we would begrudgingly vote to get Pascal out of there. Let me get one thing straight, I don't hate Sam Carver. In fact, I've grown to respect him. The man had a rough start, sure. Arrogant. Brash. A chip on his shoulder the size of a fully loaded truck. But beneath all that smoke, there's fire, the good kind. The kind you want on your side when things get hot, which is why the news that Carver might be leaving Firehouse 51 feels like a cruel twist of fate. Because let's be honest, if anyone should be packing their gear and heading out of 51, it's Matt Carver. It's one of these characters, and here's exactly why. 1. Stella Kidd. Losing her spark. This one's controversial, I know. Stella has been a powerhouse, commanding, fiery, an advocate for women in leadership. She's mentored, fought, and climbed the ladder. But lately, her fire seems doused. Since her return from Girls on Fire initiatives, her energy feels split. She's more married to the institution than to the engine. There's tension, even with Severide, who's off doing his own smoke-jumping escapades in Montana or wherever he disappears to next. Kidd's leadership is strong, yes, but it feels like she's already halfway out the door. If she wants to lead a national training program or become a department chief someday, then great, go do it. Just don't hold up a spot on Truck 81 that a hungry newcomer could ignite. 2. Chief Bowden. Time to pass the torch. Don't get me wrong, Bowden is a legend. He's the rock of 51, the wise voice, the glue. But he's also been circling retirement for seasons now. There's only so many times you can threaten to leave, only to stay. At some point, the man deserves peace. A lake house, fishing pole, a chair with a good view and no calls over the radio. The department is evolving and leadership should evolve with it. Bowden's compassion and authority made 51 the heart of the CFD. But what better legacy than to step aside while he's still at the top, letting someone like Herman, or even Kidd, if she stuck around, rise? 3. Sylvie Brett. Written out in a whisper. Let's face facts. Brett has had 1 foot out of 51 for a while now. Her heart's not in the city anymore. Between baby planning, her engagement to Casey, who's playing forest firefighter in Oregon, and the general sense that her storyline peaked about 3 seasons ago, Brett's been more ghost than paramedic. Yes, she's kind, she's competent, but her personal arc feels wrapped up in a bow. If Carver is being shown the door when he's just hitting his stride, why is Brett still in that ambo, looking like her mind's on a Pinterest wedding board instead of the patient? 4. Joe Cruz. Overstaying his sentiment. I love Cruz. Who doesn't? He's the emotional backbone of 51, the guy who cries and doesn't care who sees it. But ever since Otis died, Cruz has been drifting. His marriage, the birth of his kids. It's all pulled him away from the chaos of firefighting, and maybe that's okay. Maybe Cruz deserves to take over that Slamigan business full-time or start a rescue academy. It's not about ability, it's about presence. Cruz is already mentally checked out half the time, worrying about Javi, Brian Jr., Chloe, and if his insurance policy is up to date. He should go out on a high, not wait until burnout makes the decision for him. 5. Emma Jacobs. Still a threat in the shadows. Okay, so she technically isn't at 51 right now, but let's talk about this lingering presence. Emma Jacobs is like that one fire you think you put out, only to find it smoldering in the walls. If the writers are teasing Carver's exit to clear the runway for another Emma Jacobs return from the shadows plotline, then we need to talk. Emma should be gone for good. No redemption arc, no second chance. She's manipulative, dangerous, and a toxic match for a house as tight-knit as 51. If Carver has to go so she can get screen time again, hard pass. So, why Carver? He's grown. He's made amends. He literally risked his life for Kid, the squad, and the city. He's shown vulnerability, unpacking trauma, facing his demons. Carver 2.0 is the guy we hoped he'd be when he arrived. He's not perfect, but he belongs, which is more than we can say for some folks who just won't move on. Let's be blunt, Carver has the makings of a long-haul 51 firefighter. Charismatic, rugged, loyal. A bit of a lone wolf, sure, but that's what makes him compelling. If we lose him now, it's a waste of development, a waste of potential, and a disservice to viewers who finally warmed up to the guy. Honorable mentions who could go without much fallout. Ritter, sweet, earnest, but increasingly background. If there were a Station 52 spin-off, he'd fit better there. Mouch. Look, he almost died. Shouldn't that have been the poetic, heroic exit? Severide. He's barely on screen anymore. Either commit or quit. No more disappearing acts. Hawkins, RIP, but still. If characters like Hawkins can be taken out for shock value, why are we protecting fan favorites who are narratively stuck? Final alarm. We get attached to these characters. Firefighting families aren't easy to let go of, but drama thrives on change. And the only thing worse than saying goodbye too soon is staying too long. Carver leaving now feels premature, political, and not in service of story. If anything, Firehouse 51 needs more Carver energy, not less. Send off a character who's ready. Give us closure where it counts, and let Carver keep burning bright. Because if Firehouse 51 loses him, they'll need more than extinguishers to put out the fan backlash.